got a brand new Armored Skeptic, a big thickie titled Hollywood is Evil, part of his Everything is a Lie series. Everything is a Lie. He did History is a Lie. Now it's Everything. Is this... Was the other one Everything is a Lie as well? Has this been going on for a while? Let's just make sure. Let's make sure. Everything is a Lie. Nope. History is a Lie. History is a Lie. Everything is a Lie is the new series. Oh, boy. Yeah, this is maybe the first one. Okay. So, Hollywood is Evil. Let's see. I'm sure he's doing fine. I actually saw... I guess I'll show you guys real quick. Before we jump into the video proper, I did look at his Armored Media channel. He did two things that I thought were weird. No, not Armored Media, the other one. Armored Gregory. Two things I thought were weird. Number one, he re-uploaded the Captain Marvel review from when him and Shu were together from 2017, and that just sounds cringe to rewatch. Also, one day ago, he was on camera. I think he's looking alive and well. He looks the same. He doesn't look particularly bedraggled. He just looks emo like he was before. Kirthan, thanks for the 37 months. I'm not watching his fucking review of that movie. Why would not the Captain Marvel review? Like, I'll do this. Here, I'll click to there and watch 30 seconds.
Kind of,
and
like
that's why it rounds him out as a character.
When he's with Captain Marvel on the screen, she kind of seems human too.
Their chemistry, it worked.
Okay, so that looked like a... Who's the guy that does Super Deluxe? It looked like a Super Deluxe edit. Anyway, so that was that. I'm not going to watch it. This is Hollywood is Evil, his 42-minute and 42-second magnum opus. Is it 4242 on purpose? Is it Green Man? Is he doing Green Man secrets on us? Is it coded messaging? Chat, decode it. Everything is a lie. Maybe he'll be based. Maybe it'll be based.
A few years back, I uploaded a review of The Incredibles 2, where I lay out an argument that the sequel to The Incredibles was ruined through rewrites. The sequel was clearly meant to celebrate the
Dude, look at, she's looking good still, to this day.
First film in its original iteration, but instead through rewrites
MILF,
was twisted into a broken mess that insults the original film. I believe what I described in that review is a clear example of how the film industry has changed in the last decade, and how Hollywood has evolved into something much more nefarious. I'm sure you've heard it discussed before that Hollywood is trying to make their films as profitable as possible to foreign markets and attempting to make $1 billion off of every single blockbuster by appealing to as wide an audience as possible, resulting in nonsensical storylines and bland, unrelatable characters.
I don't think The Hobbit, I don't think that was The Hobbit's problem. I mean, a little bit. I mean, The Pursuit of Capital is going to ruin all of this. For the record.
And endless, meaningless action scenes with no substance. But that's only part of the issue. Money is merely one aspect of Hollywood's motivation to change the conventions of entertainment. I believe that Disney Pixar
Greg's Descent into Madness bingo? Good luck.
Ruined The Incredibles 2 on purpose, not to capitulate to the demands of foreign markets.
Let me know if you get a bingo.
Or appeal to Chinese audiences, and not to make $1 billion off of a summer blockbuster like we've heard so many times before. But it's my opinion that Disney Pixar rewrote the original script of Incredibles 2 with the intention of destroying everything that we loved about the first Incredibles film.
Mega Ritz, thanks for following. I didn't hate The Incredibles 2. I don't remember hating this movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once was an indie movie? Well, I don't know why he's showing that in the B-roll. He's unhinged. Let him cook, chat. Let him cook. We don't even know what the meat of this conspiracy is. He just thinks everything is bad right now. He just doesn't like stuff.
Not only do none of the themes about the importance of family carry over from the first film to the second, but the sequel is structured to actively contradict the lessons that we learned from the original Incredibles movie. I've come to some sobering realizations about the entertainment industry during my career. Things I've wanted to talk about for a very long time, but was too nervous to say because I was worried about sounding like a crazy person. But
It's wild that for some reason he has to construct that he's had these conspiracy theories for a really long time, and it's just now that he's letting them out. Like, he's always been a weirdo, but it just seems ad hoc to me, doesn't it? Doesn't it seem like he's making it up as he goes?
in the last year, I've managed to gain some reliable contacts on the inside. Creators like actors, musicians, writers, people who were used by the entertainment industry to push propaganda, the same way that I've been used to push propaganda in my past. And they've helped me to understand that
He wants to be so close to fame. It's really weird. He always tries to associate himself with like something bigger that just, you know, he hasn't let everybody else know about because he's a humble guy.
Not only was I right the whole time about the evil that I've seen, but the entertainment industry is much worse than I realized.
He was right and also wrong at the same time. Brilliant. Mic drop.
I used to love film. I mean, I do love film. That's why I dedicated an entire channel to movie reviews. But I can't even bring myself to watch new movies anymore.
Is that Pan's Labyrinth right there?
Because the experience is...
Is that Pan's Labyrinth? It looks like the goat from Pan's Labyrinth, but I don't remember a field, but it also kind of looks like the girl from it. What is this? Is this not? Because I don't remember this scene, so it doesn't seem right, but that seems a little bit like the goat. Looks pretty panty. This isn't from Donnie Darko. This scene? No. It's not Pan. I don't think it is either, but it's reminding of it. Anyway, let me know what this is. Yeah, I don't think it's Pan's Labyrinth. There's not a shot from that movie. I don't know what this is.
Frustrating and painful now. There were always things that bothered me about the way entertainers were treated, the way nefarious messages were hidden in movies and TV shows, the way things that we consider sacred were constantly insulted and destroyed and deconstructed. But the entertainment industry is totally broken now. Basic storytelling conventions are ignored or even openly disrespected in the name of pushing agendas.
You can't really tell where he's going to be on this one because on the one hand, it's got to have an anti-corporate message, but on the other hand, I don't think he's going to say anything about woke brokenness, but like what agendas, Greg?
There were always aspects that made me uncomfortable about Hollywood, like, for example, the way actors are dehumanized and humiliated by their directors and the media. But I used to be able to ignore that somewhat, kind of brush it off as one of those unspoken rules of entertainment, because I did not know for sure that the actors weren't in on it. I didn't know for sure that the actors didn't know that that was what was happening to them. It seemed reasonable that they would have had to have known, since it was so obvious to me, and I'm just some idiot watching. But when it was...
I was a genius, but I didn't think I was a genius, but I'm a genius. You know, he thought he didn't, but he did. I'm a genius.
Made clear to me that entertainers do not usually have a choice, that they're used by their controllers, used by their agents and directors. My heart broke. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of film franchises.
Your heart broke when you found out that... Oh my god, dude. Can we just get this man a copy of, like, the Communist Manifesto? We need to get this man some literature because it's not sinking in any other way. He's so soy. What is wrong? What is wrong with you, man? I felt so bad. I didn't realize that actors are being exploited. Brother, you should hear about the coal miners. Like, what? Yep, it's all of us, man. Them too. God, he's so dumb. Not as dumb as 20 viewers. Wow, that sounds amazing.
It's cold.
My Canadian best friend, thanks for following.
That I've loved and enjoyed.
Yeah, no, we went to a different school.
Over the decades, films that I myself have praised, that I'm now totally convinced were intentionally destroyed, intentionally ruined by Hollywood or their directors.
All 3 Guardians movies are dope. Literally all 3 of them. The last one's really, really good. You should watch it if you haven't seen it yet. If you only watch 3 Marvel movies, the 3 Guardians movies are the ones you should watch. They're really good. Yeah. It'll make you cry. It's sad, man. It's also really good fun. Great movies. Yeah.
To push agendas and attack the value systems that we hold sacred. Decisions that were made in an attempt to demoralize the people who
skip to 2054. Tempting.
Love these film franchises and demoralize the people who love the characters and the actors who play them.
Just gonna bitch
Back in 1984, a supposed KGB defector, Yuri Bezmenov, gave interviews and lectures to American audiences describing the USSR's supposed plan to demoralize the United States with the introduction of certain concepts into entertainment.
The main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. Only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or psychological warfare. Ideological subversion is overt and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All American mass media has to do is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. To change the perception of reality of every
spin. This is a normal thing. Putin still does this, but this is like a tactic. This is propaganda. This is not new. This is not new to the KGB or 1984 or whatever other spooky things you can say about it. Like, this is propaganda still.
American, to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow. Demoralization, it takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. This is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students.
Bro. Is this Greg's anti-leftist arc? Let's go. I'm in. Let's go. I'm going to reload my fucking fists like Henry Cavill in the bathroom, dude. I'm ready to go.
Overall, he made a pretty compelling case for how America's cultural cohesion and moral compass can be warped and changed to create a weaker nation and stir up civil unrest.
Counterpoint. Reagan plant. That guy... pro-Reagan, I bet Ronald Reagan wanted him to fucking say all this shit. Counterpoint. American propaganda is this guy right here. Actually.
And since then, it seems that a lot of what he predicted has actually come true. The problem is, this is a lie. It wasn't the Russians that did this to us. It wasn't the KGB or the Chinese that altered the course of entertainment, turning it into a tool to socially engineer us into a broken culture with distorted morality, causing us to adopt destructive mindsets and believing in broken philosophies. No, we did this to ourselves. It was our own entertainment industry that did this to us. It was our own people who changed film, television, and music into a tool of moral destruction.
It's crazy. This is crazy. Moral destruction. Oh, man. The most morally destructive thing is the dollar. That's fucking true. That is 100% true.
And social movements like social justice warriors, whatever you want to call them, were trained to be useful idiots in this war for our minds, essentially demanding that the entertainment industry implement these changes into art, all in the name of inclusion and social justice.
Lying in an attempt to humiliate me. Armored Skeptic falls for the Notre Dame conspiracy theory. Is he going to call me a social justice warrior? Uploaded 4 years ago. He's still mad about this.
I've been debunking and arguing against this fake version.
Anita Sarkeesian? Oh my god, dude.
Of progressive entertainment my entire YouTube career.
Kitten Cupcake. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'm going to stay up and get high and maybe play some Armored Core because I fucked up my knee on my shit strap. Well, thanks for the 200 biddies. Sorry you had a bad knee day.
Trying to make a case that it's actually regressive.
Thanks so much.
In the old days of the internet, the old days of social commentary, the term woke used to mean something.
Fuck, he's saying it. He said woke?
A little bit different.
Oh, no.
A person that was woke was someone who understood that the banks control the world, that America is a nation of slaves and prostitutes being used for the personal gain and wealth of the elite.
It still means this. It still means this. but with the added understanding, with the added understanding that that's just how capitalism fucking works, not the banks. Fucking capitalism, the whole thing. The whole thing, man. And then how that intersects with, white supremacy and all that other shit. Like it's so easy. This is easy stuff. Anytime, Greg. Anytime you want to have a conversation about this, you let me know. Climb out of your fucking bat cave and jump in the Discord and we'll have a talk. That vid is in relationship to him believing that ISIS set fire to the Notre Dame Cathedral ceiling, by the way. Yeah. That was like, it said 2019, right? Was that the year it happened? 2019? He's always been into conspiracy shit. He's saying he's always been into it.
That the military-industrial complex and the CIA control the entertainment industry. I wasn't the first one to say these things.
Well, that's not true.
Please, God, don't let me be the last. Entire libraries of work,
They definitely have branches, like, for instance, like Top Gun. A lot of military interaction with that. The NFL has a lot of military stuff going on, like... There's intersection, but it's not like owned and operated by the military.
Archives of information about this used to be available on YouTube and multiple image boards, message boards, other websites only a decade ago. But somehow in the last few years, the term woke has morphed into a blanket term insult to describe people who want social equality, or someone who's pro-LGBT, or someone who advocates for inclusion in media. The term woke was taken away from us. It was stolen from us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is how right-wing propaganda works.
And all those old conspiracy theory videos, all those woke websites have now all been wiped from the internet, along with all those communities who used to speak out against all of these issues. Now, don't get me wrong. I am pro-LGBT. I am an advocate for inclusion. I agree with the overall concept of the new meaning of the word woke, and by today's standards, you can consider me woke.
Amazing. He's woke. He's a lefty now. Chat, you're Xing? Why would you X him? How dare you doubt him, chat? Whoa! Whoa! You X to death. Whoa! But Greg is so reliable. He seems so reasonable, right? You think Green Man's woke?
But woke culture and woke people people are not the same thing as the woke agenda. The woke agenda is an overarching attempt by our controllers to actively demoralize us, to destroy our love for each other, destroy our ability to get along and coexist. It's an attempt to separate us, to pit us against each other through identity politics.
A little bit. A little bit. Not really. A little bit. So he doesn't understand the intersection that capital has with these things, and how you're not. Look, Chad is Xing to that because it doesn't seem like you can show your math on this one. Like, it seems like you copied your neighbor's answer, and it said woke, and you're like, yeah, I don't know how I got here, but I'm gonna write that down because that will not get me canceled or something.
All while pretending to be against hatred, all under the guise of being against segregation. Yet the end result of all of their work is a more disjointed society,
Capitalism.
a more disjointed culture,
Capitalism.
and the more they divide us, the easier we are to control.
Capitalism.
Obviously, there is an active contingent of far-right wingers that are against inclusion, that are against the LGBT and progressive thought. But for the most part, the reason people tend to get frustrated over a piece of media being too woke is not because it's inclusive. I've argued against that idea for a very long time now. The reason wokeness in media is being...
This movie was good. This movie was good. We didn't all hate this. You hated it. This is the best. This is the second best Star Wars movie. Although Andor ruined Star Wars essentially because it's just so good.
Received as offensive by audiences is
This holds
because
up.
of the obtuse way that those...
The last one was really bad. I watched. So this movie's good. Rian Johnson wrote a good movie, and you can see as a Star Wars fan where this pans out and what the story becomes. It just they reneged on everything. They got all upsetty, and Disney really fucked it. It was so bad, dude. The sixth movie, or the ninth movie, it's so bad. Just awful.
Those ideas are shoehorned into films and shows. They talk down to us and belittle our cultural conventions. Media uses wokeness as a veneer or as a cover to deflect from the more nefarious messages that they're trying to push. Entertainment is not made for us anymore. Entertainment is made at us.
Why is he mad about Holdo? I liked this arc. I liked subverting the hotshot pilot thing from a writing perspective. Oh, he's a hotshot pilot. He always has the right idea for everything. And you see him make calls that wouldn't help anybody. Like, I liked it. It was interesting. It was different. I don't know, man. The second movie's good. The Rey Kylo fight scene, awesome. When they team up, spoilers. And then the third movie sucks. It's edgy to hate Star Wars, especially the new ones. I mean, the new ones sucked. The last one sucked. I haven't watched Ahsoka. I like The Force Awakens. It's, man, Rey's theme, dude, it felt like Star Wars again. That movie feels like Star Wars.
I hope you have a
And then,
fantastic day.
I don't know. They can't help but go back and fuck it up. The Big Room. Thanks for the Prime. 8 months. Because she was a new character? I mean, we can have more than just the fucking Princess Leia characters or whatever. You know?
I can't say that I know for sure when I noticed this happening for the first time, but when Disney took over Marvel Studios and the Star Wars franchise, that's when it became too obvious to ignore. For those of us who grew up with the original edits of the original trilogy, Star Wars was about a very specific philosophy using a very specific dark and gritty tone.
Dark and gritty? Star Wars? Buddy. What? Stop. Dark and gritty? He's living in a fantasy. He just called the original trilogy dark and gritty.
It was a very real and
my dick is actually so moist it's dripping.
No one grew up on the original edits of the original trilogy. George changed a bunch of shit in the first VHS release of each film.
meaningful story taken seriously. But that has clearly changed. When I reviewed The Force Awakens and Rogue One, originally I praised Disney for displaying that they seemed to understand the franchise and understand what fans were expecting from the Star Wars universe. And I gave those films a positive response,
I like Rogue One. It holds up even with it. It's better with Andor, although he's more likable in Andor.
Ending them as great fan service that also properly introduces Star Wars to a new generation of fans.
If you haven't seen Andor yet, you should watch the shit out of it, though, immediately. It's really good.
The way that I saw it, those two films were a promise to the fans that Star Wars was in the right hands, that Disney knew what they were doing. But then when The Last Jedi was released a couple of years later, I reacted extremely negatively to that film. Not only did The Last Jedi break the entire Star Wars universe, it also broke all of the trust and goodwill that Disney had built up with the Star Wars fans.
We're just gonna skip over Jar Jar Binks season. Okay. we need to stop this. Stop. Can we stop this shit? I can't believe we're talking about Star fucking Wars. Oh,
Disney clearly promised
I have no idea how they broke the fucking Star Wars universe in that movie.
A faithful representation of Star Wars that would serve the fans and continue the existing themes and story. Then they intentionally broke that promise and produced a deconstructivist take on the franchise.
Yeah, Rian Johnson did do some deconstruction with the movie. Because we had seen 7 Star Wars movies prior to that. And I was personally excited to not go like a fucking seal. Oh, they did it! Death Star 3 destroyed! I like to see the characters go through stuff. I would let Rian Johnson make movies in any universe that he wanted. Like, this was interesting because Luke was also wrong. It's fascinating. That's the thing about the light side. The whole point that Rian was going for is that, yes, there is the dark side and it's bad because, like, you know, killing people and being authoritarian is bad. Also, being a pussy is bad. Being a huge pussy is bad. Being neutral when evil shit happens is bad, actually. You fucking tool. You old bitch. And so Rian Johnson wrote Luke Skywalker, comma, you old bitch, the movie, and he didn't like that. This is a good movie. Stop being an old bitch.
Right in the middle of the trilogy.
And he's right. Also, this is the worst part. Canto Bight sucked. That's true. That part sucked.
Last Jedi divided the Star Wars community because it was used to intentionally attack our love for that movie universe.
I don't think so.
The entire
I fucking disagree. This was dripping with I love Star Wars. Jesus.
The theme of The Last Jedi was about killing the past, killing everything that we loved about the old Star Wars. Rian Johnson subverted every expectation that we had for the film and replaced it with a chaotic, vapid experience with no clear direction.
Vapid? The point was that Rey didn't have to be a Skywalker or a fucking... The point that Rian Johnson was going to make is that the Star Wars universe has always felt very small. George Lucas fell in love with his Blorbos, and then Disney fell in love with George Lucas's Blorbos, and they couldn't have to do... This is why that, oh my God, it's like they have to do this 14th Star Wars movie, and then, oh my God, look, it's Glup Shitto, everyone's favorite character, Glup Shitto, and he showed up. Rian Johnson hates Glup Shitto. Rian Johnson wants you to have a good story in universe. He was trying really hard, and he did a good job. And if you would have got the next movie, hey, where's my Snyderverse psychos for that? Release the Johnson cut of the next movie. Let them redo it.
Hoping to distract us with goofy jokes and meaningless fantasy elements. At the time, I was confused. I wasn't really
This was stupid.
sure at the time that this was an intentional attack against Star Wars fans, against a franchise that we hold sacred. No. Nor did I realize that it was an attack on our values and principles for which the original Star Wars films stood, the meaningful messages that they conveyed. How could this be possible, I wondered? Kathleen Kennedy was hand-chosen for this intellectual property.
He has so much fucking faith in Disney. He's so weird.
Because of her decades of experience in the film industry. She even received an endorsement by George Lucas himself, saying that he never would have handed the franchise over to Disney without her in charge. The destruction of Star Wars was not the fault of one shitty hipster asshole director who wanted to make a self-serving deconstructivist take on Star Wars.
Does he also not like the Glass Onion stuff? Like, does he also not like Knives Out? Yeah. I mean, you're just wrong. Big time.
This can't all be blamed on Rian Johnson. Kathleen Kennedy didn't just haphazardly dump the responsibility of building upon the existing story on...
So here's what they did. They hired Rian Johnson to do the 2 movies, and then they fired him because of whiny boys. Because they're pussies. This is a terrible decision. I would have rode all the way with Rian Johnson. Are you kidding me? That had good reviews. The 3rd movie has worse reviews.
Ryan, hoping that he would understand what the fans wanted, the decision to...
No, it's barely deconstructivist. It's literally okay. So why is Luke Skywalker a superhero not involving himself in matters that he almost fucking solved? He was so close to victory, could have pushed back against the Empire, and chose not to involve himself. And why didn't he do that? And it's because he's a grumpy fucking old man. And he sucks. That's why. You need to stamp out these motherfucking fascists. That's what he should have done. He should have gone full fucking Robespierre.
Use Rian Johnson in this capacity was made intentionally by Disney. They knew what they were doing the entire time. They gave Rian Johnson the reins to the franchise, knowing that he would deconstruct it, knowing that he would contradict what we love about it. That was the point. Rian was handpicked to push the new agenda. He subverted our expectations to such an extreme.
I didn't like what we had to do with Leia's character, but I mean, she fucking died. So what are we gonna do? I would have preferred if they just killed her off right away.
that it ignored the core themes presented by the original Star Wars trilogy decades ago. There is no way that Kathleen Kennedy did not know that that was going to happen. There is no way that Disney had no control over the direction of the Star Wars sequel trilogy. The media just tells us shit like that to deflect responsibility away from the executives who make these decisions. Do you really think Disney would spend billions of dollars to acquire the franchise and then just let it fumble through their fingers?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Do you think the billionaire corporation is really in touch with what the entertainment is that we want to see? They have been doing this for years. Live, like... So the KGB is in control of Disney Corp making bad movies, and that's demoralizing to us? I am not demoralized by Disney making poor movies. I simply don't watch the movies as much. I watch other movies. A24 is making good stuff. Watch some movies, man. Like, are you good? Are you okay?
Blaming it all on Ryan is just Disney's way of evading the wave of frustration and hatred caused by their decisions. They want you to think that it's the director's fault. At best, Ryan was just a useful idiot, a trained Marxist tasked with updating
a trained Marxist.
The franchise with a modern propaganda spin.
Propaganda? Greg, come fucking talk to me. What?
That's their religion. That's their cult. I want you to think...
Marxism? This is the first time his rant song has popped up on screen. Interesting time. 16 minutes in, he chose to.
Think of the greater context. Think of how the Disney Corporation...
It's crazy that he's like, the CIA and the authoritarians are controlling it. By the way, secret Marxists are actually subverting culture. You fucking shut up. God damn it. Go back into the base. Go back into the dungeon of your castle. Slip further into the darkness. We don't need your opinions.
Postures all of their film franchises.
Jesus
Disney
Christ.
now owns everything. Disney bought
Capitalism,
up every
dude.
Intellectual property that they could get their hands on.
Yeah,
they
Marxism.
even own The Simpsons now because they bought Fox. Disney even owns Fox. Yes, the financial implication of owning everything is that Disney now has a monopoly on entertainment today, obviously. Yeah. But think about the cultural implication of one corporation owning every intellectual property. The power that they have over the way that all media is perceived and the messages that they convey to our children. Disney has a monopoly on morality, too. Disney has a monopoly on culture.
No, they don't. What? That's actually Lil Nas X? and then Disney has some say.
Now one massive corporation has total...
It's Beyonce. Actually, right now the Eras tour is going. It's technically it's Swifty's summer.
Autonomy over the way every beloved IP is presented, the messages that they push. Now one company chooses what is moral, what is progressive, what is meaningful, what is a fair and proper representation of humanity itself. One company shapes the way that we perceive ourselves and our history.
This is an American company based in Florida that not everyone supports. He's bought into this fucking right-wing nonsense, dude. He's so fucking crazy.
One company controls the way that artists and their work are presented and represented to the world. One company is using all entertainers and creators to engineer media that fits one specific vision for reality.
But Disney doesn't have one specific vision for reality. They have outliers in all their media, dude. It's It's not that deep. It literally isn't that deep. They're a corporation that owns a lot of intellectual property, and they're mishandling it due to their size and mismanagement. They are absolutely not Marxists. Corporate Marxists.
Disney's version of woke. That's why everyone hates woke culture in film today. Not because we hate inclusion and diversity.
It is actually because you hate inclusion and diversity. Not Greg, but the people that make the anti-woke stuff. Oh no, they definitely hate that.
Want those things in film. It's because those messages are being used against us. That desire to have those things included in film is being used against us. Mega corporation funded entertainment is not designed to help us navigate our harsh reality or authentically represent us in a faithful way. They have no interest in even acknowledging reality. They're trying to engineer a new reality. Mainstream social movements and artificially generated reactions on social media play a role in this as well.
Oh my god, he's such a boomer, dude.
By constantly demanding that new media be woke, that it be better at representing different diverse groups, Disney can make...
Is just literally complaining about rainbow capitalism? I mean, yeah, he's like... He sees a Tide commercial with a multicultural family, and he's upset because they forced the diversity onto the screen. It's like, yep, that's what capitalism does. They commodify and exploit you for dollars, and then they'll move on to the next thing. It's exactly the same, always. Yeah, man.
Make it look like they're simply trying to...
Imagine having Facebook on your phone. Couldn't be me.
Make progressive people happy by including those modern philosophies and identities into media. But I argue that it should never be the responsibility of a mega corporation monopoly to teach us morality.
Whoa.
It should never be the responsibility of Disney to represent people that way. Another one of the tactics that these mega corporations employ to deflect and distract us from realizing that they're the ones that are doing this to our culture is that they'll place an easy target in a lead role and then tricking us into thinking that these adversarial characters in the forefront, that the actors involved in the productions are the ones making these decisions. Disney will literally make a film terrible intentionally, then tell the lead actor to stand in front of a podium and dictate who is and is not allowed to comment on their film.
I know I've said that the quartering should like put some effort into his videos, but apparently this is what it looks like when that happens, because this is just a quartering video that he wrote. Like, imagine if the quartering wrote his own scripts. This is what would happen. Yeah, this is drool. When it said skip forward to like 20 minutes in for some other stuff, I should have probably said yes to that. Woo-wee! I would love to talk to Greg about this. Really, like I know I've said it a couple times, but like, man, there's just so much to unpack here, and he's essentially just rambling at this point. He doesn't even want to talk about the intersection of how this stuff works. To throw Marxists under the bus, to say like, oh, the corporate media just wants you to be mad at the actors, not the, and they misappropriated woke. The Marxists are who we should really be mad at. Are you hearing yourself? You've bought into their fucking propaganda. Your brain has been drained out of your fucking skull, man.
Belittling a percentage of their own audience. But Disney...
Men? You pussy. God, you're such a fucking baby.
Did all of that so that when we complain that we hate the way that the character was portrayed, we hate the way that the character was vapid and had no personality, we hated that they were two-dimensional and boring, Disney can just turn around and accuse us of hating strong women. Maybe the worst example of a corporate film doing this was
Sony?
Likely the 2016 Ghostbusters film.
Dude, what? He's playing the hits right now. We're talking about Ghostbusters? Oh my fucking god, dude. This movie was not good. It was funnier than I thought it was going to be, though. There's a couple moments where it made me laugh. In the first act was probably the strongest part of the movie.
That first trailer was absolute garbage and made the film look terrible and unwatchable. And director Paul Feig responded to almost every single complaint that we made about the film by accusing us of misogyny. But another more nefarious tactic that the new media employs is injecting terrible, cheesy, over-the-top humor into every scene.
I thought this was good character building. This was a good scene. When he's like, I don't know about your apparatus, and then he gets hauled away. That's a good scene. Han Solo, dude. Fucking. Why does he think Star Wars is gritty? He played Knights of the Old Republic 2. And only that. And even that is like funny a lot.
Which serves to help hide the fact that they are actively attacking our culture and our values by making every
Our culture and our values were destroyed because Oscar Isaacs was funny in the Star Wars movies?
Serious moment in a film silly, it subverts and bypasses our natural mental defenses against their destructive philosophies. If everything's presented as a joke, in a goofy reality, then we're less likely to notice that they're presenting a message that goes against our moral compass.
What is the message in Guardians of the Galaxy that goes against your moral compass? What? Chat, what?
I've felt a lot of fear and anxiety
Destroying our morals.
about discussing this topic.
We need to go back because you felt a lot of fear and anxiety?
I've felt a lot of fear and anxiety about discussing this topic. You're almost certainly going to want to reject all of this. It is wildly uncomfortable to think about, and I'm forcing you to rethink all of the entertainment that you love. I know that you're likely not convinced yet, and I'm not sure that I can prove any of this in one video, but I have a few examples for you that I'm hoping will help you understand that I am on to something here.
Okay. All right, let's see the examples.
This is
I'm
not
interested.
just some bullshit that I'm inventing to scare you.
I don't feel scared. He is a highly emotional being. I don't feel scared or uncomfortable at all. I am confused as to how Greg personally came to these conclusions. Scared? Anxious? Not me.
This is something that I've been thinking about for a very long time now.
Psycho.
I presented Star Wars as something that we hold sacred.
We do not hold Star Wars sacred. It's movies. Star Wars is a bunch of movies.
But its destruction and its use against us began well before Disney took over. There were a lot of questionable decisions made by George Lucas to the original Star Wars trilogy films over the years, including the edits that he made to the special editions which were released in 1997.
Bro. It's like getting mad at directors. Like, this is always gonna happen, man. He's a capitalist too. He wanted every bit of money that he could get.
The special edition edits of Star Wars didn't just alter the special effects, they also changed the story as well. The meaning of the films. I think the first time that he did it is also the most obvious story change. No. When George Lucas altered the famous Han Solo shot first scene. Greedo, a bounty hunter, has Han Solo at gunpoint, threatening to take him into Jabba the Hutt as a a bounty. Han Solo says, "Over my dead body," and Greedo replies, "That's the idea." By making that statement, "That's the idea," Greedo is admitting that he is going to kill Han Solo. That's what the scene is communicating.
Okay.
That statement was all that Han Solo needed to hear to know that he was a dead man if he didn't make a split-second decision. Solo had every right to shoot Greedo right then and there.
Go. He had the right before that too. Oh my fucking god, the Star Wars man babies need to stop. I'm a Star Wars nerd and I'm so tired of listening to bitches whine about Star Wars being woke. Who cares? Yeah, I don't know. Read another book. Read a different book.
Any idiot could have seen that. And in the original edit, that's exactly what happens. In fact, in the original edit, Greedo doesn't even get a shot off at all. You just hear one blast, a puff of smoke, and when it clears, Greedo is dead. That's brilliant cinema.
Brilliant cinema.
That's dark and gritty and real. We were all fine with that. That was awesome. It was one of the most badass moments in Star Wars.
Stop.
However, all of the subsequent edits since then have changed the order of events, so now Greedo takes the first shot, and somehow Han Solo's head tweaks to the side and dodges the blast before Han Solo finally shoots back. That edit was stupid nonsense, and we all hated it. Yes, that's...
That... And ever since then, you know, I felt my moral decay set in.
Probably the most obvious
Since
example of a
1997?
change to the story, but it sure as hell is not the worst example. Return of the Jedi's story may have been altered the most. The original edit of Return of the Jedi was really dark and gritty, with the Jabba's palace scene including slavery, imprisonment, torture, and worse. What happens to
Still has all that.
Princess Leia is awful. It's an extremely serious subject that needs to be handled seriously. In the original edit, I used to feel like Return of the Jedi walked the line really well in a way that Carrie Fisher was in on it, that she understood the seriousness of the subject matter and got to own it like a boss.
What? The subject matter? Are we talking about that he has slaves?
Like she had some level of control over how her character was portrayed and how she was represented, which is so important, especially considering what she has to wear in that scene and what her character endures in some of the sequences. But then the special edition comes along in 1997 and ruins the seriousness of these subjects on purpose. We know that Princess Leia is in really big trouble because it's set up in a scene where Jabba the Hutt sacrifices his previous slave to a monster beneath the floor.
By the way, she's the real baddie of the whole scene.
But George Lucas infamously added a stupid, obnoxious, over-the-top song and dance number to the scene where his previous slave dies.
Yeah, everyone hates this.
In the original edit, it's super dark.
We've all seen this. I'm pretty sure you can still see this. She dies in the fucking regular movies still, doesn't she?
In the original edit, this is a shocking...
By the way, I never noticed this particular individual. Great, love it.
Moment that communicates to the audience that Jabba the Hutt is a cold-hearted, psychopathic murderer and a true villainous...
Literally 1 second. Hold on. Disney Plus. Can I just log into Disney Plus real quick and see? I guarantee you this is fucking available. Star Wars. Let me click on Star Wars. Can I let me click on it. Thank you. You're talking about Return of the Jedi, dude? I'm playing it. All right, we'll turn the sound off. Come on. There we go. All right. Bro, I guarantee you she's going to be in here. I'm at the Rancor. We're at like 20-something minutes in. A little before that. A little before that. Dude. I just got to there. There's the shitty, Yeah, she's in the scene. I see her sitting there. Oh, I won't show up anyway. That makes sense. Anyway, she's here. Yeah, okay. Anyway. She's definitely here still.
Monster. So when Leia gets captured later, we understand just how grave her situation is and how awful it must be for her. However, the seriousness of that is ruined in the special edition edits because of the inclusion of the stupid song and dance. Now when Princess Leia gets captured and chained up by Jabba, it doesn't feel like she's now the slave to a disgusting monster who could be capable of doing anything to her. Instead, the tone has been ruined so badly by the silly dance scene. When Jabba grabs her and we see the fear in her eyes, now it just feels like Princess Leia is going to be the victim of a goofy dance number. This not only destroys the entire opening.
He's obviously a man. The first time my dad smoked weed was right before he went to watch Star Wars with my aunt and her boyfriend. My dad was a hardcore state champ swimmer, and he had crazy lung capacity and got way to him. To quote, I was so high, I was Luke Skywalker. Wow.
Of the film, it destroys the tone of Princess Leia's entire character arc. Now Carrie Fisher is not in on it. Now Carrie Fisher is just some whore being used because she looks good in a gold bikini.
Greg, there's the sexism.
Now it's just George Lucas's creepy fantasy.
It's you what?
But wait, Return of the Jedi
My corn is so moist that it's actually dripping.
About Darth Vader. This is the film that Darth Vader is redeemed. That's really important here. Remember, Darth Vader gets redeemed? Well, when this film was originally released in the 80s, it was sort of vague.
Vague? It's Canadian for vague?
Exactly for what he was being redeemed. Just for being evil, for doing bad things. We didn't know what those things were. I was 14 when The Phantom Menace was released in theaters, and even back then there was a lot of resistance to the new direction that Lucas was taking the franchise. As each new installment of the prequel trilogy was being released, we became increasingly shocked as it appeared as if George Lucas did not understand his own material. That he didn't understand
because his wife was the one who wrote the good parts of the first ones. Whoops. Uh-oh.
The fundamentals of Star Wars. We were all shocked that the new Star Wars films were too clean. The action and the drama felt meaningless. None of the characters
Okay, but the songs they still banged, okay? The soundtrack, still great.
Decisions made any sense. The most egregious example is Attack of the Clones.
It must be said that in one of his reviews with June, he lamented that she wasn't in the slave bikini. Wow.
Which seemed unfocused and out of touch, especially with the Anakin Padme love story. At first, it felt as if George Lucas was trying to recreate the adversarial love drama in The Empire Strikes Back, using Natalie Portman to mimic the way Princess Leia resisted the advances made by Han Solo, persisting until he finally wins over his love at the end of the film as he sacrifices himself to save her. The problem is, Han Solo was an absolute legend and a redeemable man. He was a real hero. He was a real guy. And Princess Leia was exactly like him. Hard-headed and strong-willed. They were both equally belligerent personalities. Sure. When Han Solo and Princess Leia fall in love, it makes total sense because they match each other's energy. However, in the prequel trilogy, Anakin Skywalker is already irredeemable before Padme shows her love for him, and she should already see him as irredeemable, yet falls for him anyway, even going as far as to act like a complete doormat for him. Halfway through Attack of the Clones, Anakin Skywalker...
So we're just talking about how the Star Wars movies were bad, and he doesn't like them. But Hollywood went broke before. Hollywood's evil, but really it's George Lucas is bad. Okay.
Reveals that he's a complete psychopath, killing women and children in a fit of rage.
Children?
He admits this by screaming.
Hate them.
In Padme's face that he slaughtered them because he hates those people.
He hates
and
them.
Somehow Padme doesn't even flinch when she hears this. She does not act realistically in this situation at all. Instead, Padme walks up to Anakin and comforts him. Yeah. That never sat right with me. That scene is so fucking awkward. Then this is repeated in the next film.
Not as awkward as whatever that inflection is that Greg does that doesn't feel like sincere.
Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Padme that Anakin slaughtered children once again. This time, Jedi children.
Have a fantastic day.
Oscar J. Carlisle, 28 months!
And after Padme finds out that Anakin has murdered children for a second time, Padme still runs to Anakin's side, hoping to win him back by comforting him, hoping that her love will set him back on the right path. She literally says, "All I want is your love." But instead, this time, he breaks her heart. She steps back and says, "You're going down a path that I cannot follow." But Padme does not say this to Anakin because she found out that he murdered children. And
so, sounds like Padme's flawed. I'm into that. I'm not a big fan of these scenes either. I don't think this is a well-written sequence. Go. I've never really thought about how to resolve this particular problem of the prequels because there's so many others that I don't even think you would get here. But the end of the prequels has to have Darth Vader being a thing. Right? Or I guess the end of the second movie and then into the third. But like you knew where this was headed, so we have to tell a story where he has failed along the way. There's a more elegant way to do this story that wasn't written, but you know, it's what we got.
No. It's like she doesn't even care about that part. Instead, Padme changes her mind about Anakin because he says he wants to rule the galaxy. Padme's heart is broken because Anakin hates democracy. Now, keep all of this in mind. Let's return back to the special...
That's what the Empire was also not it was also anti-democratic in the originals.
Edition edit of The Return of the Jedi, the film where Darth Vader is redeemed by Luke Skywalker. Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, is redeemed at the end of the film, and now that redemption is completely ruined. Within the context of the prequel films and the special edition edits, Anakin Skywalker is now redeemed for killing dozens of women and children.
Greg, in the movie that came before this movie, and then the movie that came before that, there is a machine that Darth Vader has built, along with the Emperor, that blows up whole planets. You can bet there were a couple kids on there. He is still redeemed within that by by Luke. So, like, what are you talking about, man? Literally genocide. Genocide? Sorry to those kids that he personally murdered with his lightsaber. Sorry to them. Very bad thing to do. Look, if Jedi kids were real, it would be bad to kill them, okay? Think about how many more kids were killed by the laser beam that the Death Star shot. That's even worse to do, in my opinion. Still redeemed. I mean, just a terrible point to make. Do not make me defend the prequels. Please, have coherent points to make. They're sloppy. John Williams crushes it. Darth Maul's only there because he's cool. Qui-Gon also very cool. I agree. It's too clean looking. I don't think he did.
In
actually.
fits of rage, the story of Star Wars now says that Anakin Skywalker is redeemable for being a child murderer.
Yeah, yep.
And just to make it absolutely sure that we get that this is the point of the prequel trilogy, just to make absolutely sure that we remember what evil things that Anakin Skywalker did, George Lucas went back and changed the Blu-ray version of Return of the Jedi to update the story. At the end of Return of the Jedi, when the main cast is celebrating their victory over the Empire, Hayden Christensen shows up as a Force ghost with Yoda and Obi-Wan, just to remind us, hey, you remember this guy? Remember what this guy did? Well, he's redeemed now. You already agreed to this decades ago. He's redeemed. You all said that he was redeemed already. It's too late to take it back.
So it's odd you made. It's a 42-minute rant about, he just put out a day ago, about his Star Wars takes. I have no idea why he's doing this.
Redeemed for killing children. You already said so. That's what the story is now. You all loved this film back in the 80s and 90s. You all agreed to this already. Double stampsies, no erases. It's too late.
You all agreed. We don't get to agree. It's art. We don't have to like the art. I don't like it either. It's not a conspiracy that George Lucas is bad. He's just not good at writing.
Not an accident. That's not just sloppy filmmaking by some lunatic director. That's not just bad storytelling. That's not just bad retconning. George Lucas did that on purpose. Star Wars was ruined on purpose to push an agenda.
George Lucas's agenda of what?
To make child murderers look redeemable.
So, your argument is that Hayden Christensen's commanding performances in the prequels have caused people to approve of child murder? Or rather, that child murderers are redeemable? Such as?
And nobody noticed. You think that's terrible? Well,
no.
I've got an even...
Nobody noticed because that's not what they thought was happening. Because they've never thought in their life that a child murderer was redeemable.
Worse example for you. Buckle up. The original Guardians of the Galaxy film is goddamn near perfect. Disney, Marvel, James Gunn set this universe up to be a faithful representation of space adventures and runs the gambit between...
The gambit? The gamut? It's not runs the gambit. It's runs the gamut.
Colorful and whimsical, and dark and gritty, and manages to meld them perfectly. Notice how I said James Gunn sets this up. Well, upon first viewing of the sequel to Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, my biggest complaints were that the jokes were too silly and ruined the pacing of the film.
The first movie is resolved in a dance-off. the very climax of the first Guardians movie is resolved with literally a dance-off.
And my second complaint was that the ending of the film was not earned. I thought that this was just shitty filmmaking and studio interference and algorithmic writing at first.
He got to say, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." And you cried.
I thought that this was Disney coming in and telling James Gunn that he's got to make his movies more goofy to fit with the new tone of Disney. But now I understand why they put such obnoxious jokes in these films. They're trying to make these films so silly that you do not notice that
the slavers were redeemed?
The message of the film is really evil and underhanded. They designed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 to subvert your moral compass and convey a nefarious message.
Thieves can be good people?
Human trafficking, child trafficking, is a very serious issue.
This motherfucker is just Jim Caviezel without a budget. He literally wants to put himself up on the cross.
A very real issue.
No one came out of Guardians of the Galaxy and was like, you know what? The child trafficking. So the child trafficking, spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The charge of child trafficking was inappropriately assigned to Yondu because instead of actually trafficking the child, because he was trafficking children for Peter Quill's dad, because he was looking for his own progeny to make gods. It was a whole thing. Peter Quill was one of them, and he was like, God, what is he doing with these kids? He just thought he was getting kids for a guy who was the dad, but then he found out that he was killing the kids, and he's like, well, shit, I guess I'm child trafficking. I thought I was just getting kids for a guy. I'm going to keep Peter Quill so he will be safe, but I can't tell anybody because then they'll know that I have Peter Quill. They'll know that I have the guy. I can't. This kid's safety will be compromised if I give up the gun. So I'm going to take the fall. And all the Reavers thought that Yondu was guilty of being a slaver because he had Peter Quill. He took the fall for that to protect Peter. And that's the arc of the movie. That's how you find out. And so he wasn't really a bad guy. He was a bad guy, but he wasn't a bad guy. He's a bad guy that did bad guy stuff to survive in a bad guy world, right? But he had some moral lines that he was tricked into crossing. And he was also accidentally Peter's dad. And that's what it's about. The whole thing's about found family. You should watch Guardians 3, also about found family, also very good. People like Guardians of the Galaxy for the same reason they like D&D. Debate me.
Issue that deserves to be dealt with seriously when depicted in film, especially considering that this is a currently relevant issue. Sylvester Stallone plays a Ravager in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, is a Ravager? I thought they were just Reavers. Ravager?
Volume 2.
Are they Ravengers? Revengers?
Near the beginning of the film, Stallone scolds the blue guy. He yells
Is it Ravenger?
at Yondu.
You can never really understand what Stallone's saying in this movie.
For being a child trafficker.
Yeah.
Yondu claims that he didn't know what his client was going to do with the children after he trafficked them, implying to the audience that terrible things must have happened to the children after he dropped them off. Stallone replies to Yondu, "You didn't know because you didn't want to know." Yondu remained ignorant to the outcome of the children's fate because he wanted money. Yondu wanted to get rich and didn't care that he was a child trafficker.
And that is a flaw in the character that they discuss. That's what the movie's about. He is not redeemed. It doesn't make the actions he did okay. It means if you do bad actions, you can do good actions in the future and just try to be better, because that's all you can do. You can't undo a thing. You can only be better in the future. Whether or not it redeems you is up to your peers. There's no cosmic scale to balance. If you killed a kid and nobody knows about it except you, the only thing you can do about that is process that guilt and then move on and do that. This is a situation where the Revengers assemble. This is a situation where we're talking about a complex issue, and if you think Yondu is redeemed, great. If you don't, that's also great. I'm sure James Gunn would love to have a conversation with someone who didn't think Yondu was redeemed, because I bet he'd be like, man, maybe you're probably right. But in the moment, right, some people have space, had the spoons. Peter had the spoons to forgive a guy that did bad stuff. At least for him. That's fine. I don't care. I think that's nice. I think James Gunn would, as a DM who has Blorbos, I feel like a writer that gets to put it on film, especially a guy like James Gunn, the way he talks about this kind of stuff, I feel like he also has a little bit of Blorbo action going on. I think he would have an interpretation on this. He may be your father, but he ain't your daddy, is at least one. Look, that's a good line. That's a good fucking line. And I've said something similar before, in reverse. Not like to someone. I said about my own father. I said he has been a father, which is you pay bills or something. Like, he's certainly a father, but I don't think he's ever been a dad, and that's bars. And I said that when I was like fucking 12, and I'm still right about that.
So Sylvester Stallone tells Yondu that child trafficking is the one thing that Ravagers do not do. Child trafficking is the one thing they are not allowed to do. He broke their only rule. Stallone says that Yondu will never receive a Ravager funeral and will never have the colors of the Ravager clans wash over his grave. Stallone lays that out to the audience in plain English.
Yep. And then I sat there and thought, Yondu's dead.
Will never happen. It is impossible to be accepted back into the Ravager Order. He will never get
only got 90 minutes to resolve this shit. Dead.
Proper funeral. Yondu is a child trafficker. That's it. That's done. Period. And this seems consistent with the character of Yondu that we met in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. He was a cold-hearted, murderous villain, a heartless psychopath who clearly, blatantly abused the main character, Peter Quill, in his childhood.
Yep.
In fact, at one point, Yondu is a split second away from killing Peter Quill in cold blood and only stuck.
So this is about the complex reality that human beings have with their abusive parents or guardians. Did you know that you can love somebody that is abusive to you? It's fucked up, and it's totally a real thing. This is what this is. This is a story about that. Yeah. That's why people like Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a realness to it. People aren't clean, man. People have bullshit. And part of the reason that Yondu was shit was because of his bullshit. That's why it is. That's what the cycle of abuse is about, bro. You need to let go of your bullshit. It's pretty obvious. The problem we have here is that Greg is a liberal / centrist. Rough. That's rough. He wants so badly for other people to think that he's taken the moral high ground. It's rough, man. It's rough out here.
Stops because Peter Quill offers him money. Yondu was going to do it. It was not a bluff. Yondu is a monster. It was clearly established that Yondu was a terrible person who did not give a fuck about Peter Quill.
That's right.
But the sequel, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, focuses heavily on Yondu.
Yes, because we see more things from his perspective, and as it turns out, a lot of what he is like is more of a facade, and he actually does care a lot about Peter Quill, but he doesn't have the language to deal with that kind of love. He's never been reared in a positive space. He's only had negativity. He's literally a space pirate. How would a space pirate have a viable, wholesome fucking relationship with a stepson, right? Like an adopted child. Like, it wouldn't. It'd be dysfunctional. And that's okay, because some people have dysfunctional lives, and this is a story about that. That's interesting. We should only give heroes redemption? For what? Superman needs redemption for nothing. This is what redemption is about.
Humanizing him the entire film. He even becomes best friends with the raccoon, who was the fan favorite character, by the way, from the last film. Yondu even claims that he and the raccoon are exactly the same, something that Rocket Raccoon does not deny. Why would the film try to equate Yondu, the child trafficker, with the most popular character from the last film? That's just red flag number 1.
Because they both have a fundamental distaste for positive, loving relationships.
At the end of the film, Yondu helps the main characters defeat the main villain as a manifestation of his guilty conscience, which is fairly realistic, to be honest, but some of the things that happen in this scene are a little confusing. For one, Yondu helps Peter Quill by encouraging him to use his heart to win the day, implying that Yondu uses his heart to control his fancy flying arrow weapon. So the film wants you to see Yondu as someone whom uses his heart.
Yep. Nuance is dead, and the black void of North American absence of media literacy killed it. I guess so.
Yondu has a heart? That's red flag number 2. Later, when he sacrifices his life to save Peter Quill, Yondu implies to Peter that he was actually secretly good to him this whole time.
Serotonin seller, thanks, Paul.
Simply because he didn't traffic him to the villain as a child. We're supposed to see Yondu as humanized because he did not traffic Peter Quill as a child.
Yeah, so to his father. So the guy was the dad, and he thought he was delivering children to their dad for money, and it turns out he wasn't, and so stopped. He was party to bad things. And then he found out, and he's like, I don't want to do those bad things, but I'll take the rap for it if I gotta. Yeah, he was deceived. I mean, his big character flaw is the thing they talk about. That's correct. That's right. That's what it's about.
The one child he didn't traffic. Yondu even goes
none of the other ones after that.
As far as to call himself Peter Quill's daddy. That's right. Yondu implies that he was a father to Peter Quill.
Yes.
That's red flag number 3. Then at the very end...
Dude, this man has actual daddy issues in real life.
Of the film, as the main cast is giving Yondu his...
They do so many scenes that show, like, that establish that sort of relationship.
His undeserved funeral, and Peter Quill is crying about it and making Yondu look like a giant hero for sacrificing himself.
No, you stuck with... They literally say lines about this. It's like, man... He's not the dad I deserve, but he's the one I had, and I can't help it, but I loved him. Can't relate, but it would be nice.
Blubbering about what a great father he was.
God, you talk to your dad. Go to therapy, Greg.
Which we're gonna call that red flag number 4. Somehow the Ravengers all magically show up to the funeral, including Sylvester Stallone and a host of other famous actors. And guess what they do? They wash their Ravenger colors over Yondu's grave. The one thing Sylvester Stallone said he would never do.
That's what the line was there for. This is a writing technique. It's often called like a promise or something, and then you'll have the payoff later on. Usually there'll be a couple pinches in between there to make sure. Oh, are they gonna get what they're gonna get? Yeah, man, this is. They talked about that line on purpose to set up the stakes. The stakes of Yondu, and then he had to do things to earn this moment. And the reason they did this is because they found out that Yondu never did that willingly and knowingly. And then he gave his life to defeat the guy that was responsible for that. I used to watch this guy in middle school, high school. He's just so fucking stupid, dude.
My dick is actually so moist it's dripping.
All right, have a good night, kid.
Sylvester Stallone told Yondu at the beginning of the film, this would never happen.
Yes.
You are a child trafficker. It is impossible. Stallone laid that out in plain English. But instead, now Stallone says he did not let us down after all.
Yes.
Sylvester Stallone, one of the most famous people on planet Earth,
That's right.
just told the audience of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 that child traffickers are redeemable.
I simply do not think that this is him approving of child trafficking. It seems to be that, hey, I accept intent, and if your heart is in the right place, if your intent was pure, then your actions, there are times when your actions can be redeemable. Yes. We just have to understand your motivations. You can still be a shitbag. We can talk about your shitbaggery and still love you. That's how complicated humans work.
Sylvester Stallone just redeemed a child trafficker in a Disney blockbuster.
This is crazy.
And when Disney hired James Gunn to make the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, they knew. They knew.
Can we get, hey Greg, can you do your Batman review? Did you do a review of The Batman? If you have, I haven't seen it. I would love just do another one.
That's what he was going to do. That was the entire point of
what's the flag? What is that?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That was the
Is that Venezuela's flag?
entire reason Disney hired creepy old James Gunn to direct the film.
Creepy James Gunn. What?
To trick us into believing that child traffickers are redeemable. That is, without a doubt, the single most evil and disgusting message a Disney film has ever communicated. And they used a host of famous, recognizable actors, including
Fish Guy, Ice Guy, Ving Rhames, and Michelle O.
Ving Rhames and Michelle Yeoh to push that message on us. They all validate the message. They all...
None of those... They don't have any lines. They stand there.
Salute Yondu. They all imply that he's redeemed. That's why they made Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 goofy and silly. That's why the jokes are obnoxious and destroy every serious moment in the film.
What? They don't.
So that you wouldn't notice that the message of the film is that child traffickers are redeemable.
The message of the film was child traffickers are redeemable, but you didn't notice, so it was ineffective, Greg. No one noticed that? No one came away with that? No, hey, you saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2? And do you think child trafficking is now a redeemable thing? Nope, me either. What?
They were hoping that you would agree that Yondu deserves to be redeemed for being a child trafficker.
If space pirates were real and you did the exact same thing as Yondu, you would be redeemable because you thought you were doing a good, fine, or at least neutral thing that would give you money.
Go.
Yeah. Especially if you redeem yourself later and die in the process. Really, my takeaway from the film was found family can still be dicks. Yeah, I mean, that was really what it was about, yeah. You can love your family and they can suck.
And nobody noticed. Fuck the entertainment industry. Fuck Disney. Fuck Guardians of the Galaxy.
So badass.
Fuck Star Wars. Fuck George Lucas. Fuck James Gunn. And fuck Hollywood.
What a scathing takedown of the Hollywoods. I mean, dude, this is, career-defining work here. What a magnum opus. Greg, do you want to talk? We should talk. Dear Gregory Flair, I would love to hang out with you in a Discord call and just talk about the disagreements we have on this. And catch up a little bit. See how you're doing. That would be amazing.